In a small African village, the sun began to set, casting warm hues of orange and pink across the landscape. Laughter and playful screams echoed through the air as children ran around the village, their carefree joy a stark contrast to the atmosphere inside one modest home. Inside this home, young Nana, only 10 years old, crouched beneath a wooden table. She tightly clutched her worn teddy bear, its fur frayed and one button eye missing. This bear was her only source of comfort in a world that felt increasingly unsafe. Nana could hear her mother in the kitchen, the rhythmic sounds of pots and pans clattering as she prepared dinner. Though she tried to sound cheerful, Nana could sense the unease in her mother's voice. "Dinner will be ready soon, my love," her mother called out, forcing a smile as she kneaded dough. But Nana knew that her mother's forced cheerfulness was a thin veil over the tension that thickened the air. Just then, the front door swung open, violently, interrupting the rhythmic sounds from the kitchen. Nana's heart dropped as her stepfather entered, towering and intimidating. His face was twisted into a frown, dark clouds of anger swirling around him. "Where is my dinner?" he barked, his voice deep and thunderous. Nana's mother shrank back at the sound, her hands freezing momentarily in motion. "It's almost ready. Just a few more minutes," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. Nana felt the familiar knot in her stomach tighten. She crawled further under the table, clinging to her teddy bear and wishing to disappear entirely. Unfortunately, it was a feeling she had grown all too accustomed to over the years. As the atmosphere thickened, her stepfather's anger mounted. "I'm starving!" he shouted, slamming his fist down on the table, causing the dishes to rattle. Nana's heart raced as she could almost hear the tension in the air crackle around her. She knew what came next. Too often the anger turned from her mother to her. She had learned to hide, to become invisible when he was near. That night, as darkness settled over the village, Nana's fears came to fruition. When her mother finally retreated to the safety of her room, Nana lay in her bed, pretending to be asleep, listening attentively as her stepfather approached her. "Come here, Nana," he whispered, his voice coated with a false sense of gentleness that only sent chills down her spine. She felt powerless as he pulled her from her bed, clutching her teddy bear tightly as the world around her darkened. The subsequent moments were filled with a blend of confusion, terror, and a deepening sense of shame. Nana's childhood innocence shattered in an instant, a world once filled with laughter and play now transformed into a realm of fear and betrayal. As nights turned into a painful routine, each instance cut deeper into her spirit, leaving scars that would last a lifetime. The sounds of children playing outside only served to remind her of the joy she longed for but could never grasp. In those quiet moments of despair while huddled under covers, Nana clutched her teddy bear and promised herself that she would break free from this nightmare. Deep down, a flicker of determination ignited within her. One day, she would reclaim her stolen childhood and she would escape the darkness that had enveloped her for so long. As dawn broke over the village, soft light streamed through the cracks in Nana's room. She lay in bed, her heart racing with anxiety. The sounds of birds chirping outside contrasted sharply with the oppressive silence that enveloped her home. Today was the day she would finally escape. Nana sat up slowly, gripping her worn teddy bear tightly. It had been her only source of comfort amidst the chaos of her life. The memories of her stepfather's anger and the pain of the previous night weighed heavily on her mind. Taking a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "I will get away from here." She quietly slipped out of bed. The house was eerily still, the air thick with unspoken tension. Nana moved toward the living room, catching a glimpse of her mother in the kitchen. Her mother was preparing breakfast, looking weary and drawn. "Mama?" Nana called softly. Her mother turned, offering a tired smile. "Good morning, sweetie. Are you going to help me with breakfast?" Nana shook her head. "I want to go play outside." "Be careful, okay?" her mother replied, her voice heavy with concern. Nana nodded, her mind racing with plans. She had to act swiftly. Outside, the village was alive with morning activity. Children were laughing and playing, their joy ringing in the air. But for Nana, those sounds felt distant. She focused intently on the narrow path that led away from her home, lined with tall grass and wildflowers. With determination, she stepped onto the path, each footfall echoing in her heart. As she walked, she glanced back at her house for the last time. The path wound through dense bushes and trees, taking her deeper away from the village. She felt free with every step she took, as if she were shedding layers of fear and pain. Nana ventured into a thicket of trees. The cool air filled her lungs, refreshing and invigorating. For the first time, she was truly alone. Doubt began to creep in. What would she find beyond the world she had always known? Despite her fears, she pressed on, driven by a desire for freedom. She walked until the sounds of the village faded away, replaced by the gentle rustling of leaves and the soft calls of birds. In this silence, determination welled up inside her. She could do this. She was breaking free from the chains that had bound her for so long. Nana continued down the narrow path away from her childhood home, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. With the village and its painful memories fading behind her, she stepped into the sunlight, ready to embrace her freedom. After walking for a while, she stumbled upon a hidden glade filled with wildflowers and the gentle sound of a nearby stream. Overcome with emotion, she sank to her knees in the soft grass. This place felt like a sanctuary, a perfect spot to heal away from her past. As the sun dipped low in the sky, laughter drew her attention. A group of teenagers approached, their faces bright with joy. Nana felt nervous but hopeful. "Hey, are you okay?" one girl called out, noticing her hesitation. "This place is amazing." Nana smiled shyly. "I just found it. I was looking for a new place to stay." "Then come with us. There's a cottage nearby that's empty. We can help you move in," the girl said excitedly. Nana's heart swelled with gratitude. Over the next few weeks, supported by her new friends, she settled into the cottage. It felt warm and inviting, a real home where she started to imagine her future. As the years passed, Nana grew close to her friends, spending afternoons exploring the woods and sharing dreams around campfires. But amid her healing, she found herself flirting with the boys in her group more often. She smiled and played, trying to capture their attention, enjoying the rush it brought. This flirtation, however, was rooted in her unresolved past. Nana craved validation and connection, often unaware of how her actions affected those around her. For her, attracting attention felt like a shield against loneliness. But it also came with unexpected consequences. Her behavior began to attract whispers from the other villagers. "Does she think she can have any guy she wants?" one woman murmured, exchanging glances with her friends. "She's just using them," another chimed in. The whispers echoed relentlessly in Nana's mind, carving away at her confidence. "She's just using them," one voice slithered through the village gossip. "Does she think she can have any guy she wants?" The sting of their judgments danced at the edges of her consciousness, but she dismissed them as jealousy, convincing herself that the attention she received was merely playful fun. As days turned into weeks, Nana found herself swept up in a whirlwind of flirtation and desire. Each evening as the sun dipped below the horizon, she craved the thrill that came with inviting different boys to her cottage. What started as innocent flirting quickly spiraled into something much darker, as her encounters blurred into a series of impulsive decisions. With each warm night, she welcomed boys like Malik into her space, their laughter filling her tiny cottage. The initial excitement coursed through her veins as they joked and teased. But as the fun faded, a gnawing emptiness took its place. Lying next to Malik, she felt the thrill, but also a hollow ache deep within her. Is this all there is? She wondered. The following nights blended together in a haze of faces and fleeting touches. Victor slipped through her door with his confident charm, and for a moment she felt alive. They would kiss, share whispered secrets, and lose themselves in the moment. But once the night ended, the intimacy shattered, leaving her staring at the ceiling filled with longing but hollow inside. Each encounter stripped away layers of her self-worth, leaving her vulnerable. Nana often looked in the mirror, barely recognizing the girl staring back at her, the girl lost in a sea of temporary pleasures. The joy she once felt began to dull, replaced by an overwhelming loneliness that clung to her. As the gossip intensified, the judgment from her community became nearly deafening. "What a shame," an older woman muttered to her friend as they passed Nana's cottage. "She'll never be taken seriously like this." The whispers followed her everywhere, each word sharp enough to cut. The more she tried to connect with others, the more isolated she felt. Despite the escalating judgment, Nana carelessly brushed their concerns aside, thriving on the attention, blindly believing it filled the void in her heart. But everything began to unravel after a particularly empty night, when she lay alone in the dark, the silence pressing down like a weight. The thrill of flirting and the rush of passion began to fade, replaced by a deep ache for something more meaningful. In those quiet hours, memories of her childhood surfaced, moments of fear and betrayal from her stepfather, and the emotional scars that had shaped her. The realization struck her. Her behavior was not just about seeking attention, but also a desperate attempt to fill the void left by years of trauma. Each kiss, each fleeting encounter, was an echo of her childhood, where love had twisted into something painful and confusing. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she confronted the truth. She had turned from a girl seeking love and acceptance into someone defined by her need for validation. The hollow feeling inside was a reminder of her past, a signal that she was still trapped in cycles of insecurity and fear.